Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name's Alicia and this is going to be the start of a reading vlog. I don't really have big plans for this reading vlog. I don't know how long this is going to span, but just felt like vlogging, I guess. So let's get into it. I'm going to show you the books that I'm planning and hoping I will get to, but again, I don't know if I will actually get to these. I feel like lately, no matter what I decide to pick up, it doesn't always, like, I just don't follow through with reading those books. I don't know if it's just like I'm not picking up books that I'm interested in, or like it just feels like I'm not in like going to want to finish those books. But anyways, besides the point, these are the books that I am actually hoping to read during this vlog. So I have a couple of really popular books and one that's a bit of a newer release. But the first book is Normal People by Sally Rooney. This is, of course, like, I'm pretty sure everybody knows what this book is and what it's about, and it's really had its hype, and might even still be like hyped up and everything. But I've been wanting to read this for quite a long time, and I have heard a lot of great things about this book, and yeah, I'm actually really excited. I've never read a Sally Rooney book before, so I have really high hopes. I don't really know much about what this book is, but I remember that I thought before that this was more of like a contemporary book, but I do think it is romance. So I don't really know much about this book, but I do think so. It's about these two teenagers, maybe starting university, and the guy whose name is Connell is this like really popular, I think, like jock type of guy in high school, and the girl Marianne is more of a, I guess, like a nerd or something, so they don't really cross paths or know each other, but they like go to the same school. And then I think Connell's mother gets a job in Marianne's house, and so they kind of cross paths and become either friends or like at least have some kind of thing going on, and then they both end up going to the same college in Dublin, and things pick up from there. So I don't know if this is like a friends to lovers or like a coming of age story or something, but I have heard that it's like more than just the romance, so there's a lot of like, I guess, messages about finding yourself, finding your identity, relationships, friendships, things like that. So yeah, I feel like this will not be what I expect it to be, but we'll see. So then next I also have People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. So this book I wasn't really planning to read in this time. I feel like this is more of a summer read and I wanted to keep it that way, but I did get it from the library and I didn't want my hold to go away, so I decided to pick it up and see if I actually get around to it. I'm not sure how I feel about this author because I have read Beach Read and I didn't really like it. I think like it's just one of those books. I feel like this happens a lot with me with romance, where books are really hyped and people love them and they just end up being books that are not good to me. Like I just don't find them interesting, or I don't see the chemistry between characters and things like that. So that was kind of me with Beach Read, and yeah, I didn't really love that. I didn't mind the writing, so I feel like it might have just been the book, like specifically in those characters. So I'm hoping, you know, we get different results with this. All I really know about this is that it is a, I think, childhood friends to lovers, and these two friends every year would go on vacation together, and then after like a certain time they ended up kind of parting ways and not being friends anymore. So now it's been like, I don't know, like 5 or 10 years or sometime in the future, and the girl, I believe, is wanting to go on a vacation, so she decides to call up her friend from childhood and they end up going on this vacation together and things go from there. So yeah, I am excited to read this. I just don't know if I'm gonna love it, so I'm a bit apprehensive, but we'll see. And lastly, I think it's probably the book that I'm most excited for, but that is For Your Own Good by Samantha Downing. So I have heard like so many great things about this book recently. I think a lot of people have been reading it and it is kind of getting pretty hyped up. So I'm hoping, you know, it lives up to that hype. But I have read My Lovely Wife by Samantha Downing, and I have to say it wasn't my favorite thriller. Like, I did really enjoy it, but it didn't necessarily stand out. I feel like for as it did with other people. I think people really love My Lovely Wife and the author. So I'm excited about this book because I think her ideas are really cool, and like My Lovely Wife was like a really cool concept. I just, in terms of like the twists and the characters, didn't necessarily love it. But this book, what I know of it is that I think it's either a professor, I think it is a professor who is either like some like really sketchy dude or something. It says here, a bold, sneaky thriller set at a prestigious private school, complete with interfering parents, over-eager students, and one teacher who just wants to teach them all a lesson. So yeah, I'm definitely loving that vibe. It also feels like a bit of a dark academia, so perfect for, you know, Halloween is coming up in a few days. And yeah, I have actually also heard that people like either, I don't know if it's like the main character or just the vibe of the book, but it reminds them of like Joe from You. And I recently finished season 3 of You and absolutely loved it. So I'm feeling like I'm in that mood. So I'm hoping I do get that from this book. So I am not sure which book I'm going to start with. Probably Normal People, because that's just kind of the mood I'm in. So I'm probably going to start reading, and I will check in with you if I have any thoughts. Hey guys, so it's actually been about 2 days since I last checked in, and I forgot to update as I was reading. So I want to do a quick update on the books that I've read and what I thought about them. And excuse the appearance, I am probably about to go to bed, but I just want to do this really quickly. So currently I am in the middle of Normal People. I am on page 233, so I'm almost finished. I think I have about like 50 or 60 pages left, and I have to say I'm really not loving this book. I really had like different expectations going into it, and it's not really giving me what I wanted it to. And I have to say I don't really understand the hype around this book. Like, I don't think it is good enough for it to like deserve the hype that it has. That may be like really controversial, so my bad if you love this book. I'm not seeing it. So basically, I don't remember if I told what this book was about, but what our premise is that we have two kids in high school, and they basically are from like really different worlds and end up meeting each other and starting this very like kind of confusing relationship. But we have Connell and Marianne. So Connell is this really popular guy, and you know, he has a bunch of friends. He is very well liked, but he is kind of shy and awkward, but still, you know, is really popular. He's also pretty lower class, and there's a lot of like conversations I think about class and like the class divide, which come up in this book, which I will talk about. But that's our one character. Then we have Marianne, who is a bit of like a weirdo. She is not well liked in school. She's not popular at all, and she is very rich though. So Connell's mom actually works for Marianne's mom as a kind of cleaner maid, and so Connell ends up coming to Marianne's house pretty regularly to pick his mother up, and when he comes to the house, he ends up, you know, talking with Marianne, and they become friends. But the thing is, when they are at school, they act like they don't know each other, and you know, nobody really knows that Connell's mom works for Marianne's mom, and so yeah, like nobody knows that they know each other. So we basically have, yes, these two people, and they kind of start this friends with benefits kind of thing, but they never, you know, really talk about the relationship or their feelings for each other, even though they both very much have feelings for each other. And then at the end of high school, you know, this thing happens. It's a bit of a rift, and they end up not talking and kind of end on bad terms, but they end up going to the same college together. So now, I don't know if I mentioned, but they also live in a small town in Ireland. So it's not a big city or anything like that, and so like everybody really knows each other in the town. Anyway, so now they go to college, and it's in Dublin, which is a bigger city, and yeah, they weren't on good terms when they started college, but they end up running into each other in college again and kind of start their friendship again, start this friends with benefits thing again. And but now once they're in college, it's a bit of a role reversal because Marianne has become like a very popular, has a bunch of friends, and you know, is kind of living her life differently now. Whereas Connell is kind of finding it hard to fit in. So anyways, they end up being friends again and catching up. And pretty much the whole book is now about them and their on and off again relationship. And it ended up getting pretty boring, I want to say. I just feel like a lot of their problems and like their reasons to be off again were just really basic and didn't make sense. And if they just communicated at all, those problems wouldn't exist. And yeah, I didn't really love that. I also think as characters, neither of them were like really engaging, or like, not only like they weren't likable, especially honestly both of them were not likable. And I just didn't really care for them. And as the story goes, we're really just getting their like day-to-day lives, which ends up being pretty boring. And it's a lot of like, I don't know if Sally Rooney purposely wrote the book this way or it's just her writing in general, but a lot of times it comes off as if, you know, these characters think and like are acting like they have these really profound and like intellectual thoughts, but it's really just coming off as pretty pretentious and obnoxious, and it's kind of annoying me. And then another thing that I didn't love is Sally Rooney does this thing where like she does these time jumps, so each chapter is like 4 months later, 6 months later, something like that. And but like once we have the time jump in that chapter, we'll kind of go back in time, so it'll be like a bit of a flashback to see like kind of catch up on what happened in those 4 months that we missed. And I feel like that just made it a little confusing to keep track of like when things were happening, and like something that'll happen like, you know, 4 months ago, but then we'll be 4 months later, but then we'll be 2 months behind because it'll be a flashback. So I don't know, if you've read this book you might understand what I'm talking about, because it just made it, at least for me, it made it a little confusing to keep track of what was happening, especially because a lot of times it was about their relationship and like their feelings for each other in that time, which was just such a roller coaster, honestly. So yeah, that was a bit confusing. But yeah, other than that, I mean, I guess I can understand why some people like it. Like, it definitely feels like a, what's the word, like a second chance, but like really like a, I don't know, 10-12 chance romance, like because of their dynamic. But I feel like the problem I'm seeing is that, let's say if you had like, you know, two characters, it was just like the wrong times type of situation where, you know, they're meant to be but it just wasn't working out, like, you know, at some point like one of them was in a relationship and the other one was pining, or, you know, vice versa, things like that. And then it just ends up being this like bittersweet romance, but then in the end they get together and it's like this huge moment. This story, on the other hand, was not that, even though I feel like that's what it's trying to do. But like the problem is, because both of them are so unaware of their own issues and their own kind of traumas and reasons for them holding back in this relationship, it's really hard to root for them. I think, like, I kind of just want to bang their heads against a wall and be like, you know, wake up, look in the mirror, and deal with your issues so that you can be happy together. Another thing though, I think, is that again, I don't know if this was the intention, but it kind of feels like they're putting their happiness on each other rather than like looking inward, figuring out their issues, and then coming together. So like you can clearly tell this is an unhealthy relationship and they should not be together, but because they keep on coming back to each other without dealing with their issues on their own first, it just creates the cycle, I guess. And I mean, really, like, I mean, the book is called Normal People, so I don't know if this is meant to be like, oh, these are just normal people and like this is life type of situation, because really I don't think these people are normal at all. I think like a lot of their issues, not to say like, a lot of people may deal with these issues, but I feel like the way that it's written, it's not written as if, you know, they're like such relatable characters and relatable issues. Or, I mean, if that's not the point, if the point is to show that like they're special and they're different and they're not normal, and that's what makes this such a special love story, that too, I mean, it's just kind of pretentious. Like, you know, I don't really care. So yeah, not loving this, but I still have about 50 pages left, so I'm not gonna, you know, give my full overall rating or thoughts yet. I'm gonna see, maybe things go a different way, although I kind of, you know, expect a certain ending, but we'll see. Anyway, so that's hopefully gonna finish this, if not tonight, tomorrow for sure. And then I will check in with you once I have finished it with my overall thoughts. And a really quick update for another book that I'm reading that I don't think I mentioned at the beginning of the vlog because I kind of changed up what I ended up reading, but I am in the middle of The Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker, and this is a contemporary romance book. I had kind of seen it around a little and I just wanted to check it out. It seemed like a fun concept, but what it's actually, so quickly just to let you know the synopsis, it is kind of like a recent release called It Happened One Summer, I believe, by Tessa Bailey. It has a really similar premise, so I feel like if you like that book, you might like this. But basically, it's about this girl, when she was young, her mother used to live in Alaska, and because of like the climate and the like small city, like small town vibe, she didn't want to live, like her mother didn't want to live there, so she ended up leaving her husband and taking her child to Toronto to live in a big city. And now it's been about, I don't know, like 20 years later, and the girl whose name I am forgetting,
2 hours later.
oh, the girl Kala now is, I think, like 26, and she finds out that her father has cancer, and she has never been back to Alaska, but she has like a really estranged relationship. She has a really strained relationship with her father, and they used to like call every now and then when she was younger, but as she grows older, like her father has stopped calling her, and she basically doesn't have a relationship with her father. But now that she finds out that he has cancer, she decides that she's gonna go to Alaska, and you know, now's her chance to try to at least have a relationship with her father, or kind of find out, like get some answers. So she ends up going to Alaska, and it's this really, like, her father lives in this really kind of remote town where there's kind of no contact with the outside world, and her father runs this like kind of airplane company, but they do like flights in and around Alaska, as well as like tourist flights, but to like go to the remote places in Alaska and like deliver supplies and things like that. So that's what her father does, and that's his like family company, and one of the reasons that he never wanted to leave Alaska, so he let his family go to Toronto. So anyway, that's the basic premise. The love story, the romance part, is that when she ends up coming to Alaska, she is met by this really grumpy pilot, and he right off the bat doesn't like her, and kind of has these preconceived ideas about who she is as this, like, you know, city girl. And so they really get off on the wrong foot, and as she spends more time in Alaska with her father and like seeing the people of Alaska in this town and the guy whose name is Jonah, she kind of starts like accepting and understanding the culture and the vibe of the, you know, town and her father. So yeah, that's the premise. This book I really enjoyed when like the start of it. I think it was like a really obviously nice premise, and I think it did a cool job, especially about the main character Kala and her father, and like that relationship, and her wanting to build a relationship with her father. Like I think that was done really well. The romance, on the other hand, not so much. I don't really like it, and I think there were quite a few problems in terms of like the reaction of Jonah to Kala. Like he was very judgmental and had a lot of preconceived ideas about who she was, but the problem was that like he kept on calling her out on basically being like, you are not accepting, or like not even accepting, like he basically is calling her out being like, she's this like full-on city girl. She doesn't care about things. She's like materialistic and like basically, yeah, just has a lot of preconceived ideas about who she is. And then her, on the other hand, she also obviously has some preconceived ideas about who Jonah is and who, like, how life is in Alaska, especially because her mother didn't really like that life and obviously has raised her with that knowledge of like her personal feelings, her mother's personal feelings. So she too has some judgments. But I just was like really annoyed with the fact that he kept on calling her out without being like realizing that he's being a hypocrite by doing this, because he literally is judging her but then being mad that she's judging him. So that was really annoying. And then another thing kind of annoying is that he kept on, being like, um, you look better without makeup. You don't need to care about what people think about you. You don't need to like wear nice clothes or designer clothes, or like she like has a dairy allergy, so she has to get soy milk with her coffee. So he was like judgmental about that. Like he was just a very judgmental character. So don't love that. I think like 60% of the way through. So in terms of the actual romance, like she basically is coming to terms with like maybe she likes this guy, maybe she has feelings for him, but nothing has really happened. Another thing, I mean, we're only getting her perspective, so we don't really know what's going in his head. But yeah, in terms of the romance, don't love it, but I like the kind of relationship building with her and her father, and even just seeing like Alaska and like that culture and that like this small town like situation. So I do like that. And in terms of the comparison with It Happened One Summer, I have read that book and I didn't love it. I think like there was a few things that wrong with that book that I kind of are similar with this book. Like it also has the city girl coming to a small town and like the judgments and things like that. So that's a similar problem. But I feel like with that book, I didn't enjoy it overall, whereas this book, I think it does have some redeeming qualities. So we'll see, how it ends, but I am 60% of the way through that. So that's the update. And yeah, hopefully I'll finish both these books soon and let you know what I think about them. Hi guys, it's been a while since I last checked in. I feel like it's been like more than a week, and I wanted to update you on the books that I've been reading and what I've actually finished and how I thought about all those books. And I just took a shower, so I'm in my like comfy clothes and my hair is wet, so excuse that. So first up, I finished The Simple Wild by Kay Tucker. So I think last time I spoke to you guys, I told you what the book was about and how I was initially feeling about it. But I have to say, I mean, like I said before, the romance just wasn't it for me. I think a lot of parts of it is, firstly, that our hero, Jonas, is like very judgmental, but his judgment is coming on the fact that he's actually judging the heroine. So like he's basically making assumptions about the girl, and then he's saying that, she is assuming all these things about him and like Alaska and all of that. And like it's just really hypocritical of him. So I didn't love that. And then also I feel like throughout the book there's like this narrative of how she doesn't have to wear makeup to be pretty, and she's this like Barbie person and really fake or materialistic and things like that. And so once he hides her makeup and gets her to be her true self, that's when he kind of starts pursuing her, I guess. So I didn't love that part either. But I feel like around 70-80% of the way in, when we actually got these two characters coming together, it was okay. Like, again, I didn't love those parts of the main guy, but I feel like their relationship and how it kind of evolved, and they were kind of cute together, so I didn't hate that part. But initially, his character, didn't love that. But honestly, what made this book, like save this book really for me, was the fact that honestly most of the book was less about the romance and more about actually our main characters kind of accepting her father and her father's side of the family and where her father grew up. And like that's the whole point of the book. Like she goes back to Alaska to meet her father and have a relationship with her father, even though you know, he's kind of been MIA from her life, but she's kind of given him the second chance and wants to have a relationship before it's too late. So I really love that storyline, and I think, like, honestly, this book did a really great job of showing that father-daughter dynamic, and then also showing the fact that she has, you know, a stepfather that she also really respects and admires, and how her real father, who she hasn't had a relationship with, and her stepfather are both have places in her life. So I like that. Also, I mean, towards the end of this book, it did get a little emotional, and I didn't cry or anything, but I definitely think like the emotional side of it was also really good. So overall, that's how I kind of feel about the book. I feel like I'm gonna give it maybe a 3.5. It's not my favorite romance ever, but I think it did do a lot of things nicely that kind of, you know, in the middle of the book I wasn't expecting. I think it really picked itself up and helped itself out. So 3.5 stars I think is what I'm gonna go with. So I feel like I mentioned that I was going to be reading For Your Own Good in this vlog, and I actually never got around to this book, and I am still really hoping to read it soon, but it didn't happen during this vlog. What I did read, however, was Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And this book has been so hyped and is so like loved in the book community and in general. I feel like, you know, it's just really popular. It's also getting a TV show soon, and it's really hyped right now. And I have read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and Malibu Rising. So, and I've loved both of those books, absolute favorites, and you know, Taylor Jenkins Reid is one of my favorite authors. So I definitely wanted to get around to Daisy Jones and the Six, but a couple things were kind of holding me back. First off, I think the format of this book is a little daunting to first pick up because it is all an interview format. So like the whole book is written as if it's a interview with like all these different characters. So that was a little, I didn't know how I was gonna like that style of writing, I guess. And then also, I'm not really interested, I guess, in like 1970s rock and roll music. So having this book be literally based around a 1970s rock and roll band, I just didn't think I was going to care as much for the characters and things like that. So yeah, I was a little hesitant to pick it up, but I finally got a hold from the library of the audiobook. So I was like, I've been waiting to read this book for so long, so why not just pick it up? So here's my thoughts on it though. I definitely enjoyed this book more than I was expecting to. Obviously, like, Taylor Jenkins Reid's writing is amazing, and I feel like no matter what she writes about, it'll end up being good just because of the way she writes. And I like the things that she does amazing were also amazing in this book. You know, the characters and the kind of like ensemble cast that we have. There's so many characters to keep up with, and we get all of their different perspectives because it is an interview. And honestly, like, listening to the audiobook really made it feel like this was like a documentary or something, where we were just following along the inception of this amazing band and how things happened in their lifetime, and then why they broke up and all of that. So I did really like that, and I would highly recommend the audiobook to read this book, I think, as a lot of people usually say. So yeah, so I really love that. Based on the characters though, so I think the biggest thing was Daisy Jones for me. So I feel like a lot of people who read this book always say how amazing of a character Daisy is, and like how fierce and outspoken, and how like doesn't care what anybody thinks, like that kind of character that she is. And although I do agree with some parts of that, like I do think she is a very bold and outspoken character, I feel like I just didn't really vibe with her as much. Like, I don't know if it was just because she was a bit annoying or a bit like unrelatable, I guess, but there was a lot of things that she was doing and saying that I didn't like, and it made me not like her as a character. And then on the flip side, we had Billy, who was kind of her love interest and also is the lead singer of the Six, which is the other part of the band, Daisy Jones and the Six. And Billy too was a character that I feel like a lot of people absolutely love, and I kind of was indifferent to him. I think his story arc in this book was very much about being thrust into the spotlight and having to deal with like fame and all the negative things that come with fame, kind of like what Daisy was dealing with too. And so he actually is like married at the start of the book, and there ends up being this bit of a romance between him and Daisy. And that was another thing that I think a lot of people have said they love this romance, and that's something I completely disagree with. First off, I think you know, the fact that Billy is married and even like if you've read the book, you know that he's done things that have really put his marriage in a rocky place, and he's himself really trying to be a better person, be a better husband, be a good father, all of those things. And so this romance kind of thing that starts with Daisy, it just feels out of place, and it doesn't really feel like something this character would do or should do. And then more than that, I honestly didn't even feel like this love connection and this like adoration between the two. They initially end up like when they first meet, they really don't like each other and they butt heads like creatively and things like that. And there seems to be a sense that you know, Taylor Jenkins Reid is trying to make us believe that they are learning how to work together, and that's what made Daisy Jones and the Six, like the band, so great. I just don't think they ever like had a connection that was like this crazy amazing love story. And because of that, when you know the end happens, I just really wasn't invested, I guess, in that relationship, so I didn't really care. So that was a bit of a negative for me. Another thing I feel that even though this was like literally getting the words of these characters, that's what we were reading, a lot of the times I feel like I wasn't truly getting into the heads of these characters. I feel like either, I don't know, because of the interview and like because like, you know, in this world this is being published to that world, these characters would be like less vulnerable and open about these circumstances. But I just feel as a reader, there were certain things that I was like, okay, but like you're doing this, you're saying this, and you're feeling this, and like it's not really all adding up. I don't know if that makes sense, but like that's kind of what I was feeling. But other than that, I do think like in general, like I've said, like Taylor Jenkins Reid really knows how to delve into like a person's psyche, and we really do get like a full like emotional scale of all these characters. And the fact that this book has so many characters makes it so that we get like really different perspectives on how these characters and like people are dealing with fame and like being celebrities and this kind of fan culture, I guess. So I did like those aspects, and mostly the romance and Billy and Daisy as the main characters, didn't love them, but I like the side characters and kind of the side storylines. So yeah, I mean, this is still an amazing book. Taylor Jenkins Reid knows how to write books and honestly is really good at writing books about like Hollywood and these celebrity lifestyles. So I do really love that, and she's still one of my favorite authors. I feel like I'm giving this book also like a 3.5, maybe a 4, but more like 3.5.